Welcome back to another episode of Rand Kyle Everything Sports Podcast. Today we're going to break down the game of the week down in Washington versus Oregon. So what are your thoughts on this game, Ryan?
36-33 major shootout over there in the Pac-12. Biggest game of the season to me so far. We had two really, really good teams, and honestly, I still don't know who's better. I mean, and
I don't either.
apparently the AP rankings didn't either because they still have Washington at 5 and Oregon at 9. That's not much separation. Because to me, in this game, Oregon had it won. I thought they had this game in the bag till right at the end. So, to me, I don't know that this Washington team is better. I think that a few key plays really swayed it their way. But, I mean, if you look at the quarterback play, I mean, you got Bo Nix, 337 for 2 touchdowns, and Penix with 302 for 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, and he had an interception. So, I mean, big playoff implications here. Total yards was really close. Oregon had about 100 yards more, but, I mean, Washington still put up 400 yards, 36 points. Biggest thing for me here has to be that both quarterbacks are still showing that they can play in good competition because both quarterbacks had a great game. There's not a whole lot for me to say that separated one side from the other because I believe this game was so 50-50, but at the end of the day, it's football and you got to have a winner. We had a winner, but if these teams play 10 times, I think it goes 5-5. So it's big implications for me with Oregon because as soon as I saw this game with a minute and a half left, I texted and I was like, oh, this game's over with. Oregon's going to have a really good look at the playoffs, and they lost. So, I mean, it's big playoff implications here. I like to see that both quarterbacks showed up. I like to see that both defenses, 33 and 36, don't get me wrong, we didn't think both defenses were gonna hold them to 20 or less points, but it wasn't a 54-51 game. So, I mean, defenses showed up that they are there. They have defenses, but did like to see that it seems both teams are still going to be able to make a push for the playoffs in that heavy Pac-12.
Yeah, and I mean, right, you ended off. I think this is going to be how the Pac-12 shakes out. You know, teams that lose one week are going to win the next week, and it's going to be just straight trading losses, as we said. But I mean, like you said, also, this was a quarterback masterclass. I mean, this is the game that we wanted. This was an offensive masterclass. You know, both quarterbacks got over 300 yards. Penix had 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Bo Nix had 337, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. You know, both of their top running backs go over 100 yards. Both of their top receivers go over 100 yards. So, I mean, this was a game that we saw on paper and we saw it come to fruition. You know, this was an overall. I mean, it was a shootout. But like you said, also, I think this says just more about their offenses more than their defense. I think this really shows how good their offenses are because, yeah, like you said, this game wasn't a 50-50 game. You know. I guess you say held them. I know usually we say held, you don't say 30, but they held them to 30 points. That's not terrible. So I think this does say more about the Washington Oregon's offenses. And like you said, I mean, with the Pac-12, we don't even know if the better team won. But that's why we don't have any Pac-12 team coming out because I think that's how it's going to be for the remainder of the season in the Pac-12. Some teams are going to beat other teams that lost to these teams, and when there's going to straight losses. So we'll see how things shake out, but big win for Washington. And I think right now, Michael Penix is the top dog for the Heisman race.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, 4 touchdowns is really impressive. But to me, I mean, it's just, I mean, he looked good, but to me, there wasn't any really like Heisman moment for me. But also, I think the main thing that really separated these teams is I don't understand why in shootouts and games like this, you give teams a shorter field or you don't take points and you go for it on 4th down. Because, I mean,
that's going to be my question about Dan Lynn and that 4th-3 they went for. I was going to ask you what were your thoughts on that.
I don't understand in any level of football not taking points if you're in field goal range or going for it on 4th down if you're anywhere outside of like a 60-yard field goal. Even a 60-yard field goal, I would probably rather my chances in taking a 4th and 3 and giving the ball at the 50. I understand going for it on 4th down if it's not 4th and inches at like a long 50, 60-yard field goal. And even if it's 60-plus yard field goal and you're 4th and 1, 4th and 2, punt the ball away. Trust your defense. I don't understand turning the ball over and giving teams 40 extra yards, 50 extra yards rather than punting the ball or taking the points if you're in field goal range. So to me, I don't 4th down on most situations.
Yeah, then also, it'd be different if, that first down was going to end the game. He did that with almost 7 minutes left in the game. You getting that first down, even if you do go and score a touchdown, they're still going to get the ball. So my thing is, punt the ball, live to see another day. But you cannot give an explosive offense with probably the best quarterback in college football right now, a shorter field. And like I said, it'd be different if it was, 4th and 3 or whatever with a minute 30 left. If you get this game, if you get the first down, it's over. No, you still had a whole at least 2 more drives for each team, and we saw that happen. They go down and score. I mean, in 2 plays, and then the game's over in the midst of field goal.
Yeah, I can't understand why a team would go for it. Especially you're 0 for 2 on 4th down. You're like, oh, let's try a 3rd time. Come on, bro. Just like in the NFL, I was talking about today. I mean, teams going for it on 4th down and not making it is just such an advantage for the other team. And to me, the risk versus reward is just not there. Like, trust your defense to either make a play or come up with a big stop. Like, and think about it. Even if you have a quarterback who's making a play in a big time game, he throws a pick or something like that. I mean, with 80 yards, the odds are good for your defense to come up with a stop or get a turnover. Like, just don't turn the ball over and give. Not only does that shift the momentum to the other team, especially in big games, it's a really big momentum shifter. But what's coming up with a 4th down stop, but also just puts your defense in such a tough spot. I would have liked to see Oregon play a little bit more conservative. I think they would have pulled this game out.
Yeah, which that is Dan Lanning's, his MO, and that's what he does. He goes for 2, he fakes punts, he goes for on 4. But I understand that while that may be how you play, sometimes you need to be smart and make the right play, even if that is your scheme and how you get things done. Sometimes just play it safe,
Yeah, but still great win from Washington. Not a horrible loss at all for Oregon.
No.
They still look great. It's not like they lost by 20. So it's going to be interesting going forward for these Pac-12 teams and in the conference championship. Washington, I believe this is the hardest team they'll play all year. I don't know that another team is going to. So if they can go through and finish undefeated, they'll make the playoffs and be probably the number 1 seed. So it's good they got by, but just need to see them be consistent against some good teams they're going to have to face in the Pac-12 going forward.
Which is going to be tough, too, because, they're going to bring their A game almost every single week, and they honestly probably can't afford a loss, so we'll see.
Yeah, because, they still have to play 1, 2, 3 ranked teams plus Washington State at the end of the season, who's probably the best unranked team right now.
Yeah.
So they got to play Oregon State, who's at 12 right now, Utah, who's at 14, USC, who's at 18, and then Washington State, who's unranked. 4 weeks in a row. That's 4 tough games to play in a row. So we'll see how they can end up. But if they can get through that gauntlet, plus they've already got that huge win versus Oregon now, be watching for that Washington team because they're going to be the number 1 seed. And they're going to be the heavy favorites.